What's going on, everybody? Happy Friday. Welcome to another edition of Mean Streets, powered by FTN, presented by Game Plus Network. Chris Meaney hanging out with you. Always appreciate you guys hanging out, especially on what is a busy Friday. Of course, the madness continues. We are into day 2 of the March Madness Tournament, and we did have some bracket busters yesterday. My bracket's pretty much done already. I mean, I had Kentucky in the Final Four. I didn't have them in the finals or winning, but I did have them in the Final Four, and you don't want to lose a team in your Final Four this early, let's be honest, but they were bounced. A shout out to St. Peter's, right? We're going to have to talk about them a little bit. They got a matchup with St. Murray. We had Vermont. On this show, we talked a lot about Vermont potentially winning, but definitely covering. So we were on the right side of that. But myself, I definitely had Vermont winning a game or two. And then Iowa bounced. So the madness, it's just, again, it's an amazing tournament. The basketball is already starting. I'm seeing now Ohio State on the court right now, up too early. So we are going to continue to talk March Madness here. And, you know, the brackets are already, you've already made your brackets, your picks. You can't change that stuff. But we got a lot of sharp minds over at FTN, and I see the bet tracker just like units, dollar signs, money winning picks from yesterday, and we want to carry that over to today too. So Walter Waddell is going to join us. Dub Deuces 85. He's the host of the College Basketball Super Show right here on our FTN YouTube page. If you're watching this show live on our FTN YouTube page, smash the like button and subscribe to that show, because these guys are going to help you out throughout the entire tournament. Walter Waddell, Mike Kutry, Frank Brank. These three guys are super sharp. They're going to help you out with some sides, some props, some totals. If you don't already follow their work over at ftnbets.com, you're kind of missing out, because they're super sharp when it comes to the props, the picks, and the sides. Also from a DFS standpoint too, if you're looking to play a little bit of DFS, they're going to get you set up with some of the for your lineup advice and all that good stuff as well. So Walter's in here in a little bit. We're going to touch on a couple games from today. We do have our free pick if we want to get that right off the hop here. And it is the free bet of the day, which hit yesterday. Akron, we had, I believe, plus 14. So we had that one, was a free bet yesterday. I know Kutry came in on this show and talked that one up on Wednesday. And then today we have Illinois to win here by 8 against Chattanooga. We'll talk about that in a little bit more with Walter. See if he's on the right side of that. I think that he is. I believe all three of them came in. Like Frank on Monday liked that pick. I believe Walter liked that pick and liked Illinois. We could talk about the chances of an upset there. Also, maybe the chances of a UAB upset over Houston. I mean, upsets, right? That's what I'm here for. Walter called a couple already, so we want to continue to try to call a couple upsets. But I believe all three were in on Illinois. And I think Tino and I are on the other side of that. Well, Tino's going to drop by in a little bit. We'll also get his thoughts for the madness. And I do believe he showed me the leaderboard yesterday. Tino, I think he's up near the top. It's only day 1, but in our FTN free bracket challenge, he had a really good start to yesterday too. So we'll have to get his thoughts. Lots happening still in Major League Baseball and in the NFL. Are you kidding me with the AFC West? Davante Adams now, a member of the Las Vegas Raiders. They go out and get the best wide receiver in football. No disrespect, Cooper Kupp. I think he's really good, but Adams is still, in my opinion, the best wideout in the game. I mean, nobody has more yards, catches, and touchdowns than him since 2018. He's been an absolute monster. And then they get the best pass rusher a couple days ago, I think, in my opinion, too, in Chandler Jones. So that division is, it's unbelievable what has happened in the AFC West in the offseason. It's crazy. And I want to get into Tino's thoughts on the Adams and the Raiders and that division. And Aaron Rodgers, reports surfaced that Aaron Rodgers knew that Davante Adams wasn't going to be part of the long-term plans in Green Bay, that he wasn't that they weren't able to link up, right? They franchise tagged him. Adams said, there's no way I'm playing on that franchise tag. Get me out of here. Reports from Ian Rappaport say that the Packers offered him more money. He's always wanted to be a Raider. There's a connection there with him and Derek Carr. They played 2 years together at Fresno State. We'll talk about those numbers and all that in a little bit. But I don't believe the reports that Rodgers knew. I mean, I know that Rodgers talks a lot of crap, and he's definitely a diva. I think we can agree on all that. But he said so many times about how there's no weapons in Green Bay. They haven't done anything for him. I mean, he's only tossed the only first round pick he's ever thrown a touchdown pass to was Mercedes Lewis. Like, I mean, he's had some good wideouts, of course, Adams and Jordy Nelson. He's had really good wide receivers that he's thrown the football to, but they haven't done anything to help him out. I just have a hard time believing that he knew that Adams was gone and yet he would just decide to re-up anyways. All right. I mean, what? Now they have 2 first round picks. They get a first and a second from Las Vegas. They got 2 firsts. Do they go 2 wide receivers in the first? They probably take a wideout with, that one of those picks, and then maybe another wideout in the second round. There'll be some really good wide receivers in the second round as well. But I still just have a hard time believing that Adams was like, okay, fine. Or Rodgers, okay, fine, I'll sign here with Green Bay. Give me all that cash, and I'll just throw touchdowns to Alan Lazard all year, because I do believe MVS is a free agent as well. I don't know. We'll dive into all that a little bit. So Walter's hanging by, and also some baseball stuff still happening as well. Looked like Nick Castellanos is going to Philly, but I don't think that is yet confirmed. We do have some hockey picks towards the end of the show, some goal scorers and some props. Let's just talk about the 3 stars before we break and bring in WW here. Anthony Mantha. You guys probably are sick of me talking about Mantha. Unless you were in last night on the 2.5 shots plus money. I believe that was only available at Bovada, I believe. And then we had the anytime goal for him as well on Dangle Betselli. I've hammered Anthony Mantha anytime goal, I think 4 games in a row. So, I mean, we've gotten it back-to-back games now. He's got 3 goals and 7 shots in his last 2 games. He's had at least 3 shots in 4 of his last 5 games as well. The Capitals in action tonight, and I'm going to talk a little bit more about Anthony Mantha a little bit later on. He's widely available across leagues. I love that second line in Washington. Talked a lot about it already on this show, so I won't bore you anymore, but with Anthony Mantha, Nicholas Backstrom, and TJ Oshie. It's a line that is completely available across all fantasy formats, and there's a lot of value on those 3 too when it comes to anytime goals and some shot props. I wanted to give some love to John Klingberg. He had the game-tying goal in Montreal last night, and then he had the overtime winner as well, as the Dallas Stars came back on the Canadiens and won 4-3 in overtime. It was looking like we were going to get that under. It was 1-1 or 2-1 in the third, and then all of a sudden all these goals started to happen. Cole Caulfield again found the back of the net. Crazy. But for Klingberg, 3.96 shots on goal, 29 minutes he played last night. No Mira Heiskanen for the next couple of weeks. Maybe we won't see him at all for the rest of the season. So Klingberg is going to live in that 24, 25 minutes. Listen to the ice time that he's gotten lately. 26, 25, 23, 22, 24, and then 29 minutes last night. Of course, that game went to overtime, but he's got 5, 6, 7, 8 points in his last 5 hockey games, and he is available. And then Roman Josi, a shout out to Alex Nedeljkovic, who had the 46 save shutout last night for Detroit in Vancouver. He was phenomenal. But Roman Josi, he's now inside the top 10 in scoring, which I think is pretty spectacular considering he is a defenseman. And what he's doing lately, I guess, I mean, he's riding a current point streak, 8-game point streak where he has 19 points over that span. 19 points for a defenseman over a current 8-game streak is really unheard of. His last night, you see 3 assists. The game before that, he had 3 assists. The game before that, he had 4 points. So he is inside the top 10 in scoring overall. He's got 72 points in 59 games. And over the last month of the season, he is second overall in points with 24 points, just behind JT Miller, who had his 13-game point streak snapped last night. So a lot of love to Roman Josi. I think a month ago, we were all talking about Cale Makar being the clear Norris winner, but I think Roman Josi has certainly jumped into that conversation, and maybe he may be the favorite right now. I know his defense isn't as strong. The numbers don't suggest that they're as strong as Cale Makar, but man, he is single-handedly putting the Preds in a playoff spot, fighting for their playoff lives despite that loss on Claude Giroux night. All right, let's break. Enough of the hockey talk for now. You guys are here for the madness. I know madness is going on right now, so we do appreciate you guys who are hanging out with us. We do have Walter White season, as George likes to say. Walter Waddell, Dub Deuces 85 is in here next. We're going to break down today's action and look ahead at tomorrow as well. A lot of madness talk here on Mean Streets. Keep her locked. Welcome back to Mean Streets here on a Game Plus Network. Chris Meaney is where we bring in Walter Waddell, Dub Deuces 85, the host of the College Basketball Super Show right here on our FTN YouTube page. We are now officially into day 2. Walter, how did day 1 treat you? Of course, I think we have to talk about Kentucky losing a huge surprise. I said off the top, man, I had him in my Final Four. It's tough to lose a team right off the hop in your Final Four, but what did you make of that upset? And obviously pretty surprising. I would assume you're surprised too.
Yeah, definitely. First, I want to say thank you for having me back again. I had such a good time the first go around, so I'm happy to chat with you and your listeners here again. But yeah, the St. Peter's, I definitely thought that they were capable of playing them close for like a half. Didn't expect them to pull it out though, and especially with their top player, whose name is Casey Ndefo. He didn't really do a whole lot. It was 2 other guards who have been solid this year, but never in my wildest imagination did I think that Daryl Banks, a role player, would score 27 on Kentucky, and then Doug Eater, the kid who has all the memes going around Twitter right now with his cool stash, would knock off Kentucky. It's just, and it's huge. It's the madness, and the 15 seeds, they're going to start losing its luster a bit, I guess, because it's happened now, I believe 10 times, but that was probably maybe not the biggest 15/2 ever, but definitely one of the most shocking that I've ever seen. So I had Kentucky losing to Murray State in the second, so I'm feeling kind of good right now, actually.
Nice. Must be nice. I want to give you some love about Vermont too. I mean, we didn't get that, but you're on the points, dude. You're on the points. Like, that was huge, right? The +5. So that was, they hung around for a little bit there as well. And Iowa bounced, right? I think we had the Richmond cover on this show yesterday as well with Taylor Mathis. So just overall, before we kind of turn the page into today, any big takeaways? Any teams maybe surprise you more so than what you thought would happen? Maybe you're feeling a couple of teams more like moving ahead. Maybe you like what you saw. Like, just give me your thoughts on yesterday.
Yeah, so this sets up well for, Murray State. Like I said, I kind of had them to the Sweet 16 anyways. Now it's so wide open with St. Peter's. It's especially so for, I have that wild Virginia Tech pick today over Texas and to the Final Four. So things are really open for them. And I think if they do get past this tough, Texas squad today, we might see them make that run. But Murray State showed a lot of toughness and grit in that San Francisco game that went to overtime last night, and they pulled it out. And their best player, KJ Williams, didn't even do that well. So definitely like them going forward. I think St. Mary's, the way that they just dismantled, undressed, smacked around Indiana was pretty scary. I thought they might win yesterday, but they really hammered them. And UCLA kind of struggled with Akron for most of the game, which props to Mike. He called that. And I think St. Mary's has a chance to really beat UCLA, and then depending on how that Baylor North Carolina matchup goes, beyond. So very much so there. Providence, I came on and we talked about how the public.
Yeah, good. Another good call by you.
Yeah, got that one. Thankfully, I like 35% of brackets were on South Dakota State, so it was a little lower than maybe I thought. But yeah, definitely their size won out. So that's something to pay attention to, because there is a lot of mid-major love for some of these teams playing, and you have to keep that in mind, that the size of these other guys in the defense is just going to be really tough for some of these teams. So even though we think, there's a lot of love today for Colgate against Wisconsin, and Colgate's one of the best 3-point shooting teams in the country, but I think similar could happen to them like with South Dakota State. They'll probably come out, smack Wisconsin in the mouth, and then their defense will start to kind of, guard Nelly Cummins, one of their best player, Jack Ferguson, and they might start to find it hard. Like Baylor Sherman yesterday, the South Dakota State kid, he came out and hit like 3 threes right in a row, and it's like, oh geez, they're going to do it. And then they got up into his shorts, and he couldn't get any easy buckets after that. He had a nice game, but life was difficult for him. So I think people forget about that once we get into the tournament. These upper tier defenses tend to win out, unless the team's shooting like 60% the entire game, which does happen. I mean, it's definitely not not impossible, but the rest of the bracket's shaping up pretty good for teams with my upset pick, Virginia Tech, and then Gonzaga. You saw Teddy Allen yesterday. We call him Teddy Buckets for New Mexico State. Anyone can beat anyone, because he single-handedly drug his team to the finish line against UConn and dropped 33, 34 real points.
Yeah, unbelievable.
So we might see that today with our guy Jelly Walker in UAB versus Houston, but we'll have to see.
That's right, Jelly Walker. Another Jelly Walker shout out. I love that. That bottom part of the East is looking pretty good. Tino, if you want to bring that up just again for a second, because you did give a lot of love to Virginia Tech. So if they can get by Texas here and having Kentucky out, and I mean UCLA, they struggled a little bit. Obviously, they found a way to get it done. But man, having Kentucky out, I think on that bottom part of that bracket, and like I said, I mean Baylor looked pretty good. Obviously, they cruised. But I'm not. I don't know. There's something about Baylor. I just don't feel like they're going to be able to get it done. So it's a good start for you, I would say, especially if we can get Virginia Tech here. Daniel H is in the house. He says a game is starting soon in like 12 minutes. I don't know if he wanted maybe to touch on this. It's Jacksonville State and Auburn. Do you have a feel or a take on this? I mean, the point spread is 14.5. Do you think that this game will be closer? I know you got a couple Auburn players in your pool.
Yeah, I did. I do have some Auburn guys. It was like 15 last night when Mike and I were doing the Super Show, and I see now it's 14.5. So that was one we said that we thought maybe Jacks could cover. Auburn, when they've been away from their own court, whether that's on the road or a neutral court, they've been a completely different team. They've fared much worse. They've had road games against teams like Georgia and Missouri, who are bottom tier SEC teams, and they could barely pull them out. Whereas when they play that same team at home, they're winning by 30. So there's definitely some concern for me about, them coming out a little flat, nervous. They got a lot of young players that don't have tournament experience on their team. So I do think there's a chance actually that Jacksonville State covers, but I'm probably just leaving it alone at this point now that it's 14.5, but I wouldn't be shocked at this point. Jacksonville State has a kid by the name of Davnate Adams, who's a bucket getter, typical March hero. I could see him, putting on a show this morning and keeping them in it.
Did you think at any moment that Zaga was going to lose? It's just sometimes you see some of these big teams at half. It takes a little bit for them to get going, right? Like you talked about Kentucky. It didn't work out for them in the second half. But I know a lot of people were talking about maybe upset alert early, but Zaga clearly found their footing in the second half. I think that they were fine. I think they're going to be fine.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it was close, but the games that Chet Holmgren and Drew Timme had were amazing. I think Chet had like 7 or 8 blocks, damn near a double-double. And then we saw with Timme, whenever he plays those lower tier teams all season long, he's putting up, 30 plus real points. So those guys are going to be able to carry Gonzaga pretty far in this tournament. Where the concern for me will come is that the bench didn't do that well. Their guard play was pretty mediocre. And if they run into a team that's capable of checking Chet or when Timme gets into the teams that play with a lot of physicality down low, he tends to wilt a little bit under that pressure. So the guards are going to have to step up, whether that's Andrew Nemhart or Rasir Bolton. But I do think they beat Memphis and whoever they face between New Mexico State and Arkansas, I feel pretty good about them too. I was worried about Boise State for Gonzaga, but now that they got, kind of blasted, that's not going to be an issue, obviously.
All right, let's talk today. Let's get back into today. Is there any matchups that catch your eye? Any edges that you see from a just a side standpoint or a total standpoint? Like what you lead the way. I got a couple written down here, but I'll let you lead the way first.
So starting over in the South, this is the one where we had all those, the UABs, Chattanoogas, UABs plus 8.5. I was worried about this matchup for them because of how good defense Houston plays. I'm a big Jelly Walker fan. I was actually been talking about him for 2 years because he played for Tulane last year. So I wasn't just a new fan to his, and I see other sites now are, and I'm excited for what he could potentially do, like a Teddy Allen type performance, but I like him to keep it close. I think UAB in general can compete. Houston's, lack of depth is probably going to hurt them a bit here. They have injuries, 2 guys are out. Fabian White's dealing with back, spasms. So there's really a good chance that UAB can keep it close here. And if it's within 1 or 2 points and the ball's in Jelly's hands, that 3 is going to fly. You never know. So cover 8.5 for sure. I heard you talking about when I first came on, I heard you guys talking about the Chattanooga, Illinois game. Mike's been on me because I when this first came out, I really like the mocks. I'm a big mid-major, low-major fan anyway, so I'm kind of biased towards them. But I do like with Malachi Smith, Sylvia D'Souza, who's a former Kansas transfer, and David Jean Baptiste, big 3-point shooter. I like them. I know that it's going the wrong way. It was 7.5. Now it's 8.5 in other places. So it's definitely going the wrong way. But I think that's good for us if we're back in the mocks because we've got an extra half point to a point for them to cover. The main concern, obviously, is that Kofi's going to be able to do what he wants down low. But I think that the Chattanooga guards are going to be able to hit shots and hang around here. So those are the 2 games I'm really looking at for today with upset potential. And of course, Loyola Chicago this morning with Ohio State. I think everything else is pretty well going to hold serve. One game I'm really interested in is the LSU Iowa State game. And it's simply just because the 2 styles are so oddly put together that I don't know where to go with that one yet. So I'm just excited to watch it.
Yeah, Tino, let's bring up that Midwest region if you do have it there, talking about LSU and Iowa State in there, Wisconsin, Colgate. You kind of touched on that as maybe a potential upset or for Colgate to kind of hang tight. Do you still feel like Miami is the play against USC in that bottom part of that bracket?
Yeah, so I'm still back in Miami. I've got the +2 locked in there. Just their guard play to me is going to be the difference. Miami's front court is really defensively pretty soft. Isaiah Mobley's not that kind of banging big that's going to take advantage of that, though. He's, somebody who kind of floats out and takes threes and is kind of more of a finesse jump shooter. So I don't see him taking advantage of that to the point where Miami's just going to get ran out here. A lot of people that are backing USC think it won't be close. And I think just the guards, Charlie Moore, Cameron McGusty, Isaiah Wong are just going to be too much for USC. And USC is dealing with some injuries. One of their key subs, Reese Dixon-Waters, is likely out. So they're going to have, some depth issues here. They're going to have to use some guys that they don't normally rely on, and it's going to come down to some shot making for a guy like Boogie Ellis, who up until recently hasn't shown himself to be a very consistent scorer. So I'm still on the Miami side, definitely.
And the Providence and Richmond, do you feel like any of those teams could legitimately knock off Kansas? Or is this just Iowa losing is really good for Kansas's path? Of course, if they can meet up with Auburn, we can project that. But do you think any of those teams in Providence or Richmond could go on a run? Who's more likely?
Yeah, I mean, there's a possibility. Creighton just lost Ryan Kalkbrenner, their center, to a big injury, so I think they'll walk there.
Big loss.
Providence has the defensive chops to keep up with Kansas. Richmond has the clutch shot making. Tyler Burton and Jacob Gilliard are two really good scorers and good all-around players, so I think they could have some trouble. But ultimately, I do think they win out here and face Auburn. But the concern for me is their top guard, O'Shea Agbaji. Man, he's like picking the wrong time. The last 2 weeks, he's been turning it over a lot, missing shots, shooting like 2 for 18. And even again last night, he looked really bad against Texas Southern. So I'm a little concerned about what's going on with him. But Remy Martin, who has been coming off the bench for them, is starting to play better. So they might cancel each other out, but they're going to need O'Shea to be hitting shots if they're going to go further than, Elite Eight.
I'm not sure if you're aware of the George curse, but you want to know what's going on. George put him on a couple graphics, and a couple boards, so that's probably what's going on. All the turnovers and all the all the shots. we would just take shots at George here every once in a while, of course. Walter, hang on. You want to hang on for one more segment? I got a couple other matchups I'd like to get your thoughts on, because of course Mean Streets won't be here on Saturday and Sunday, so we're kind of looking ahead at some matchups as well. So hang tight, more Madness talk here on Mean Streets. Keep her locked. Chris Meaney and Walter Waddell, Dub Deuces 85 here with you. Mean Streets continuing live on Game Plus Network here on our FTN YouTube page. If you have any questions, now is the time to get them into Walter, and make sure you check out his show. You guys are going to be at it again, this weekend, I would assume? Giving some DFS plays and some picks?
Yeah, definitely. We've been going on pretty late, like midnight Eastern, but a lot of people are grinding with us and watching us.
Yeah.
But, we'll have some stuff probably earlier in the day tomorrow for the Sunday slate, and something later today. I don't know if we'll be able to go on as late tonight. I am starting to, as I get older, when I burn the candle at both ends, feeling a little tired, but we'll definitely have something.
Yeah, you're going to have to grind through these next couple of weeks for sure. I see you guys popping on. I mean, it's late my time. I'm on the Atlantic Standard Time Zone, so it's right now just recording. It's 1:45 for me. So these games, I mean, last night Kansas didn't start till like midnight, basically, my time. But I powered through anyways, even though they did blow them out. So there's a couple of like pick'em games that I think people always struggle with. You talked about LSU earlier. They're 4-point favorites here. A little bit later on in the day, or even this evening, we got Davidson and Michigan State. It's basically a pick'em here. I see Michigan State at BetMGM is -1.5. We got Seton Hall -1.5 favorites over TCU. So those are two games that are kind of pick'ems. Do you have a lean or a feel for either one of those games?
Yeah, so I certainly like Davidson quite a bit here as the 10 seed against the Spartans. They have really what you need: good guard play, clutch shooting. They have a couple of front court players, Luka Brajkovic, who can take advantage of the Spartans defense. Historically, Tom Izzo has had a really strong interior defense, but this year they haven't, and primary bigs are just tearing them up. So I think that he's going to be able to do a lot of damage against them. This isn't one of the Spartans teams that I feel is capable of a Final Four run this year. So I think they get bounced early. And then there's that narrative about Foster Loyer, the former Spartans player, is going to light them up, but we'll see. I think they have an advantage though. The TCU Seton Hall game is a little more difficult. I do lean the TCU side. I think their defense is going to carry them through. Kadari Richmond for Seton Hall has been banged up, although he is going to play fully today, they say. TCU has a really strong front court that I think will give Seton Hall problems. So I do lean towards them, just straight up.
And then on that last board there, we did have the Rutgers Notre Dame. Now we know that it's Notre Dame in there. And when last time you and I chatted, I believe we talked about potentially if it was Rutgers, that would be a bad spot for Bama. Now, do you feel better about Bama, the fact that they don't have to play them?
Yeah, I definitely switched my pick, excuse me, to Bama and in my brackets and everything. I do like Notre Dame for DFS purposes, of course. There's a big on there by the name of Paul Atkinson's that can do some damage. But overall, I think Bama's guards and overall just fast pace is going to win them out here. And I think that Notre Dame will ultimately fall. It'll be closer than I originally thought, but I definitely think that Rutgers would have been a better matchup. And I don't think Bama, if they do take it out here, I think they'll be gone in the second round. So I don't expect them to go too far, but I do have them winning today.
All right. Love it, dude. So much analysis and so much great insight, man. Fantastic stuff. Anything else you wanted to kind of get off your chest before we get you out of here? Let you go and watch the madness.
I can talk about this all day long, man. I'm very long-winded when it comes to college basketball, but no, I appreciate it. I'm going to be, definitely watching Madness. Make sure that you guys are checking out the trackers on FTN. Mike and I and everyone else is filling those up throughout the day. We see live spots and props, especially props. Mike kills it at those. So just make sure you're checking out all the content we have at FTN. We're putting out multiple pieces a day for you guys.
Yeah, both of you guys are crushing it along with Frank Brank as well. I really encourage it, guys. I mean, the betting package, not only are you going to get these guys their college picks, their sides, their totals, their props. We got all kinds of just written content, free content over at ftnbets.com. But when you have the betting package, you get all the bets, all the picks. You get access to the tools, Discord channel as well. So I really appreciate you, Walter. I know it's been a really busy week for you. You've been up at it, doing shows at crazy times. So enjoy the madness. Good luck with all your picks and have a great weekend, man. And hopefully we can catch up again soon when we get deeper into the tournament.
Appreciate it. Thanks, man. Take care.
All right. Mean Streets continues here on Game Plus Network. Tino's in here next. Welcome back to Mean Streets here, live on Game Plus Network as we bring in producer Tino Rodriguez _ on the Twitter machine. We are continuing a little bit of madness talk. Yeah, you got a pretty hot start for you yesterday, sir. Where are you in the Madness Bracket Challenge? Are you T1?
So, no, I am not. No, if you're not first, you're last.
Close?
Maybe. I'm close. I'm in third place. Things could have went better. The end of the night kind of fell through for us. I told you we had Akron to pull the upset. Obviously didn't have St. Peter's, which kind of killed us. But there's a lot of, I just reviewed it. There are a lot of ones that I don't really stand by, but I guess, when you're a couple glasses of wine in watching Rutgers go to double overtime, there's some things that happen when you're making selections that, hey, whatever. We ended up picking Richmond, so I guess it wasn't that crazy, right? So, we're in third place. So hopefully today we end up on the right side of things.
Richmond is a huge call by you. I wasn't buying into them being – I did, obviously, from a selfish standpoint. and a homer standpoint, I was never picking them against Kansas, but it was a trendy pick for a lot of people. I mean, even watching some of the broadcasts, I think a lot of the analysts had them not only in the Final Four, but like, you know, some had them going to the dance, like to the finals.
It took some generous non-calls at the end there because Richmond did
Oh,
their best.
bogus calls.
The inbound was stolen, could have been an N1.
It's a foul on the 3.
Right.
That was a foul.
I told you guys, you know, I ended up going with them plus 10. It closed at 10. I know it was at 10.5. And then I live bet them up. I tend to do this with any team, but like if a team is up at half and I feel good enough about them, you can get plus money on them at like plus 210. I live bet them. Wasn't as good as plus 400, which they opened. But, you know, I got in on them a little later. It could have went either way. March is March, right? I think the big hit for me, though, was San Diego State. I think I had them winning 2 games, maybe. They burned me. They were up 14 last night against Creighton, and then things kind of just blew up. But as I said, it was the same time as St. Peter's was going on, so I was kind of locked into St. Peter's. You know, I did attend there for a semester, so I guess I'm kind of tied in. You know, if you pay
we go.
If you pay 5-figure loans at a school, I think it counts. I don't have the degree, but I might as well have the degree, right? So, yeah, I was happy for the those pesky Peacocks. Maybe they can make a run here and win a couple games.
Yes, I was waiting for you to tee that up. Like
right.
Your St. Peter's, pesky Peacocks. I don't think anybody had that, obviously. I don't think anybody.
Some guys in Jersey that were trying to troll, I'm sure, had St. Peter's. Well, what's funny is you could have had them in your bracket, but obviously you can't. Yeah, I can't put a house on St. Peter's. I wanted to bet them live in game. When the game was tied at half, I would have bet them, but you can't bet Jersey teams here. So, you know, you can't bet teams in Jersey. So, still annoying. I needed an offshore if I wanted to do that. But, no, moral victories, right? We're just happy to see Jersey get one, especially with Rutgers losing the way they did.
Are we going to back them against Murray State? I think we probably should.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of didn't get to see as much of that Murray State game as I wanted. I was burnt out, not as much as Dub Deuces, but I was definitely burnt out by the end of St. Patrick's last night. So I don't know how well Murray State played. I did have them moving forward.
8.5 point favorites there.
Listen, I'll take the points. I will take the points. St. Peter's has surprised a lot of people. I think for anyone who followed that conference, Monmouth was kind of the world beaters there, and they were able to upset them in the championship game. So I don't know. I mean, when you're hot, you're hot. So I'll ride with it until they fall off the wagon. I don't think Murray State, you know, only 2 losses on the season. Got to lose eventually, right? Got to lose eventually. So maybe St. Peter's is able to pull one out.
Let's switch gears, talk a little NFL here for a second. So listen, you can throw up the Davante Adams board, but listen to this for the AFC West. I mean, everyone already knows this, but it's just, I saw the tweet from Adam Pfeiffer, our very own Adam Pfeiffer from FTN, and I kind of thought about it too. And he was just listing offensive players, but Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelce, Tyreek Hill, right? Not bad. Justin Herbert, Keenan Allen, Austin Eckler, Mike Williams, not bad.
Pretty good.
Davante Adams added into our guy, Hunter Renfrow, Darren Waller. Let's include Derek Carr there. I think he's an underrated quarterback. He was QB 13 in fantasy. He's always among the leaders in completion percentage. Then Russell Wilson, Javonte Williams, Cortland Sutton, Jerry Jeudy. That's just the offensive players inside this division. Adams yesterday traded to the Las Vegas Raiders a first and a second, then signs a massive contract, $141.25. It's the most for a non-quarterback in the NFL, $28.25. Not quite. Christian Kirk couldn't get there, but this is now the highest paid wide receiver in the NFL. Those numbers on the left is 2 years at Fresno State with Derek Carr as his quarterback, 38 touchdowns, over 3,300 yards, 233 receptions. Carr in the 2 seasons had 87 passing touchdowns with Fresno State. So he's back there with his boy. Do you believe some of the reports that Rodgers knew that this was going to happen?
No, but I think he had to have seen the writing on the wall, and we've talked about it on here. If you're asking for the money that Aaron Rodgers was asking for, you're trying to get, the highest paid quarterback contract or the highest player paid contract in the league, and you knew you weren't keeping Davante Adams on a franchise tag. I just think he had to have had an idea, right? I don't think it was set in stone that Davante was going to leave, but at the same time, it's like, I don't know. I'm wondering the relationship more than anything, because it seemed like Adams just wanted outs. And even if Rodgers knew, why would he be so okay with it? Why would he sign up to come back? I know the running joke yesterday was like, oh, can he retire now? Can he just take the guarantee money, right? Can he just leave the Packers too? Like, is Rodgers done? Is he going to get traded to the Raiders? I mean, I don't know what'll happen. I don't know if any of that is actually factual or like possible. But at the same time, it's like, if he did know that Adams was leaving, why would he sign up to do that knowing the situation the Packers would be in? I don't know. It just wouldn't make sense to me. I think in that case, he would have wanted to go to a better team, right? Or a better situation, not a better team. Like, I don't know. It just doesn't really make sense to me that he would have known, knowing that, he signed up to be with the Packers for the next, 3 years. So, something's missing there. It doesn't really add up to me that he knew 100%.
He's got to be super ticked. He's got to be. There's no way around it. He has to be, losing a guy like Davante Adams, and I'm sure they're going to draft somebody. But Justin Herbert was number 1 in the NFL, or in the AFC rather, in passing yards. Patrick Mahomes was number 2. Derek Carr was number 3 with 4,800 yards. With Ruggs only playing a minimal, role, obviously. Darren Waller was not around at all in the last few weeks of the season. It was really just him throwing to Hunter Renfrow and Zay Jones. Like, that's basically it. 4,800 yards, more than Joe Burrow, more than Josh Allen, more than Aaron Rodgers, of course. There's a couple special props over at DraftKings. All 4 AFC West teams to make the playoffs, 20-1. Most regular season passing yards between the quarterbacks. Herbert is favored at 125, Mahomes 125. I guess they're both favored. Carr at plus 450 and Wilson at 12-1. I still think with Wilson there, I think they're going to, people want Russ to cook. They're going to run the rock in Denver. They're going to run the rock more than they pass it. I do believe.
I wrote this in Slack, and it's because I got a lot of pushback that, it's easy to pick on the Raiders. It's so easy. And we talked about this before they snuck into the playoffs. No one wants to root for them. But, no. Listen, they're not that bad. And I said it. What offense would I rather? I'm putting the Broncos 4th in the division. What offense would I rather? Some guy was trying to gas up Tim Patrick and Courtland Sutton. Tim Patrick, Courtland Sutton. Give me Davante Adams, Hunter Renfrow, and Darren Waller over everybody the Broncos have. And Javonte Williams.
Totally.
It's not like Josh Jacobs isn't a competent running back who could do it all. Come on, let's be real. You can pick on Derek Carr all you want, but we crack jokes. Russell Wilson, how many MVP votes does he have in his career, right? Super Bowl champion, but not an MVP quarterback. So, you'll have the Chiefs and Chargers. Obviously, I'll rank them to the top, but to ignore and just say that the Raiders still are the bottom barrel of this division it's kind of ignorant. That, I think it's they're throwing shade. It's disrespect. The Raiders doubled down. They said, instead of giving up, we're going to go get Chandler Jones. Oh, Chandler Jones is washed. All right, but what are they going to do? What do you want them to do? They're in the most competitive division in football. They're not just going to get beat up on. They've had years of getting beat up on. I respect what the Raiders are doing. I respect the heck out of it.
Yeah, Daniel H checks in for Denver having the most turnover also in the division. I mean, I think either the Chargers have made some moves too. I mean, there's a lot of great defensive players too. And I'm sitting there talking about all the offensive players. There's a lot of great defensive players. I mean, the only team that hasn't done anything are the Chiefs, right? Mm-hmm. You could make a case for them third in the division or fourth in the division. Yeah, to regress a little bit. I'm looking at the odds right now. The Chiefs are favored plus 150. The Broncos 250, which I do believe is a mistake. The Chargers at 3-1, and then the Raiders at 7-1. So the defense. I think the Chargers is the play. But I also think the Raiders, man, are really going to hang around at 7-1. Before we wrap up this conversation, do you view Adams as? Do you think this is a slight downgrade? Do you think he's still wide receiver 1, wide receiver 2 off the board in fantasy drafts right there with Kupp?
See, I actually think this is perfect for him because who led the Raiders in touchdowns last year? Hunter Renfrow with 9. So Davante Adams is going to go in there. This hits Hunter Renfrow from a production standpoint in fantasy. I think his receptions and PPR formats will still be there, but Adams will be the red zone guy, and I think he's going to eat. I think he's going to stay on the course. He's playing with his old college quarterback. They will be throwing the ball downfield to him, and I like this offense a lot. I really, really do. I don't want to buy it. Maybe it's the John Madden, silver and black effect that's taken over me. I like me some Las Vegas Raiders, but I love this move. I really do. I think this this changes the game a little bit. I think it changes the narrative. And I like that you brought up the Chiefs because they haven't done anything. They are getting older. Davante signs that extension. I mean, this isn't going to be a short-term thing. They're going to be here for a little bit. So, yeah, it's early to what Daniel's saying. It's early, but I respect the double down. And, hey, maybe all 4 do make it, right? We saw 3 AFC West teams make it, maybe 3 AFC or NFC West teams make it, maybe 3 AFC West teams make it, or we hit the 20-1 and all 4 of them make it, right? It's not impossible, but I'm excited. They meet 2 times a year, so that'll be some good stuff.
Yeah, I thought maybe in the NFC and the West that all 4 teams would knock on the door there, and they did. And they may have gotten in if it wasn't for a Russell Wilson injury. Potentially they are in, and maybe the Eagles are not in or something like that. We could see that. All right, I guess we'll break. Sure. I guess we'll break, and we got a couple NHL plays on the way out. Nick Castellano still hasn't signed. That's not official. Looks like he's going to be in Philly, though.
I hope not. The Marlins need to do something. He should be in Miami. I think he wants to be in Miami. That's why Jeter apparently has some discrepancies there because they don't want to spend the money. I don't know. People love the Marlins. You know, I root for them and their pitching staff, but I think he'd be the perfect fit for them to be competitive. I don't know. It's not official yet, though.
Daniel H., we appreciate you. We're going to switch gears and talk a little hockey to round out Mean Streets. I'd love to hear who you think is going to win the AFC West. Who's the team that finds a way to win that division? It should be amazing to watch all year long. Hang on. Mean Streets continues here on Game Plus Network. Welcome back to Mean Streets here on Game Plus Network. So we're not going to rapid fire through the hockey picks. We have some time to kind of breathe and give you them with some analysis. Hopefully we can bounce back from yesterday. We did call a couple goals over at Dangle Bet Selly. So in the final segment, we're going to see if we can continue to try to get that part of the NHL prop land working for us. The goal scorers, yes. The shot props are okay. I mean, the guys that I really liked from yesterday were John Tavares and Zach Hyman, and didn't get it from them. We did get Cole Caulfield, and we did get JT Miller plus money, but let's try to get all of these. Let's selfishly try to go 4 for 4 with these shot props here on a Friday. There's only a handful of games on the ice here. So I am leading with Brad Marchand, and when I was giving these shot props to our guy George this morning, I was just honestly guessing on what they would be because I hadn't found them anywhere. Like Unibet is the only place I could find. Now I see DraftKings has the shot props up, Bet365 shot props up, FanDuel, all the books now. So we can see this. Brad Marchand is plus 115 over at DraftKings for over 3.5 shots. 6 shots in his last game. He played 19:45 against the Minnesota Wild in Minnie, a bit of a stingy team. Now he gets to go to Winnipeg to play the Jets. They play a little bit more loose. The defense is not as strong in Winnipeg. The reason I'm leaning here with Brad Marchand, no Patrice Bergeron. I think this maybe... Brad Marchand's a shooter anyways. Like, he's had 4 shots, at least 4 shots in 3 straight games. He had at least 3 in 5 straight games, and he has cleared this number, pretty consistently over the last 3 weeks of the season. You go back to February 8th, he had 5 shots. February 24th, after the suspension, he served the 6-game suspension. He rebounded with 7 shots in the first game back, 8 shots in the second game back, 4 shots in the third game back, had an off day where he had 2, and then he was back at it with 6, 3, 3, 4, 5, and 6 his last few games. But no Bergeron. I think that would mean that he's selfishly going to shoot the puck a little bit more, try to drive offense. There's a lot of different ways that you can go in that Boston and Winnipeg game. Of course, Kyle Connor is always in play. Pierre-Luc Dubois didn't hit in the last game, but he's consistently been hitting as well. You can get him over at DraftKings. If you wanted to go Pierre-Luc Dubois at -125, I think is a pretty good price. And I do believe David Pastrnak is in play in that game as well. 3.5, -160. For Cam Atkinson, I didn't think that he would be as juiced up as he is. I'm seeing DraftKings has him at -170. That is a bit much. Obviously, we're not going to be taking Cam Atkinson as a single at that price. There's just no way, right? I would suggest if you're betting these as singles, you probably cut it off at -155. Right? Even that is a little steep, but we did get Cole Caulfield yesterday at -155, and I was comfortable with that one. But for Cam Atkinson, he's had at least 3 shots in 4 straight games and 7 of his past 8. He's actually got points in 4 straight, and he has 7 points over his last 6 games. Ice time is through the roof. Claude Giroux is not going to join the team in Ottawa for this game, and if he isn't traded tonight or tomorrow, he won't be with the Flyers on Sunday when Philly plays at home at Wells Fargo against the New York Islanders. So there's a lot of movement, I think, that's going to happen here this weekend in the NHL leading up to Monday's trade deadline. But Cam Atkinson is a guy that I think we can trust, maybe to put him in some parlays. There's a lot of different ways I think you can go with the Flames here as well. A matchup against the leaky Buffalo Sabres, who got smacked last night in Edmonton. So the second half of a back-to-back, already inside the top 5 in shot attempts, scoring chances, high-danger chances, and shots on goal at 5 and 5 per 60 over the last 5 weeks of the season. Daniel H., these 3.5s make him a little bit nervous. I do understand the 3.5s can make some people nervous. That's why I threw out the couple 2.5s there with Pierre-Luc Dubois in that first game. But Atkinson, I think we're fine with the 2.5 here. Johnny Hockey, he's had at least 4 shots in 4 of his last 5 games. The ice time has come down a little bit for this top line as they roll 4 lines in Calgary. They know that they're locked into a playoff spot. They're not going to, give a ton of ice time to these top guys, but a couple power plays. Daniel, if you didn't want to go for Johnny Gaudreau here at 3.5, I think you can go Tyler Toffoli at 2.5 shots at -125. That's a guy that I didn't know if he would be available, on the board when I was giving these plays to George. I do like him slightly more than Johnny Hockey, but for Tyler Toffoli, 3 shots, 6 shots, 4 shots in his last 3 games. He's cleared in 4 or 5, but Johnny Hockey has been right there too, clearing. I think you consider this top line maybe as an anytime goal for any of the 3, maybe a 2-point night for Johnny Hockey as well. A pretty good spot. Like I said, he has been shooting at least 4 shots in 4 of his past 5 games for Johnny Gaudreau. And then Aaron Ekblad here is the bonus. I was thinking about a couple different Florida Panthers. I see Barkov at 2.5. I see Huberdeau 2.5 plus money. And I see Reinhart 2.5 plus money as well. Pretty good spots. But Ekblad has been the most consistent Florida Panther over the last month in terms of clearing 2.5 shot attempts. 26 minutes, 24 minutes, 27, 26, and 27 in his last 5 games. So we like the fact that he's averaging 24 minutes over the last 2 weeks. He's had at least 3 shots in 3 straight games, 4 of his past 5, and he's cleared in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 of his past 9 games, and a pretty good spot against the Anaheim Ducks. So those are the shot props for this evening. Going to have a couple more in our FTN bet tracker. I do think that I'm going to go to Jeff Skinner in that Buffalo game, but Calgary's really stingy. So I think Toffoli and Johnny Gaudreau is where you can start. We'll call some goals here next. One more segment on Mean Streets. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back to Mean Streets one final time. A couple goal scorers here for you this evening. A couple that are pretty chalky, I think, off the top with Nathan MacKinnon at plus 145. Obviously, a really good spot for Nathan MacKinnon today. I try to, attack just shooters. I think, sometimes if you don't see me come in with, goal scorers, if I'm looking for them to get 3 shots or 4 shots, I think it's a pretty good opportunity for them to find the back of the net too. But the San Jose Sharks, no team has allowed more shot attempts or shots at 5-5 per 60 over the last 5 weeks, according to Natural Stat Trick, than the San Jose Sharks. So for Nathan MacKinnon, he's got 42 assists, only 21 goals. He does have a goal in 4 of his past 6 games and 7 of his past 11 games. So this is a pretty chalky one to start at plus 145. Pierre-Luc Dubois, the Labatt's there. It's Labatt's season. George is having fun. We're all having fun. Pierre-Luc Dubois scores. We have a whole lot of fun on a Friday night. He's also nearly plus 200 for an assist tonight if he didn't want to go with the goal. Tyler Toffoli, mentioned him in the last block. He's just really good with the Flames. 15 games with Calgary. He's got 14 points and 8 goals. Carter Verhaeghe scored for us last night. I'm a sucker for Verhaeghe playing on that top line with Alexander Barkov, and he's plus 260. And then you guys know, talking a lot off the top of the show about a guy like Anthony Mantha. I'm just a sucker for Mantha. I just think he has a knack for scoring. He's a volume shooter. He likes to shoot. He's off to a really good start since getting back into the lineup with Washington. But for Verhaeghe, 3, 4, 5 goals in his last 7 games. So those are the goal scorers. Good luck on the ice. Tonight on the hard court, I see Jacksonville State hanging around with Auburn. Let the madness continue. Have a great weekend, and we'll be back on Monday. Cheers.